So imagine your living room is actively flooding. It is just pitch black.
Oh, wow. Yeah, terrifying.
Right. The power grid for like half of your entire country has just completely collapsed under the weight of this massive storm.
Total nightmare scenario.
Exactly. And in that specific, highly terrifying moment, a massive, trillion parameter AI model that's designed to write poetry or generate highly detailed images of cats riding skateboards.
Right. The stuff we see all over the news.
Yeah. That stuff is completely, utterly useless to you. But a simple, literally blank text box built by a handful of people over a single weekend, that might actually save your life.
I mean, that image right there, it really cuts through the fatigue, I think.
The AI hype fatigue.
Exactly. The fatigue we are all feeling right now. We are just constantly saturated with the theoretical potential of artificial intelligence.
Oh, totally.
Most of the mainstream conversation is driven by these massive tech corporations, and they're, focusing on optimizing corporate pipelines or maximizing entertainment.
Or like passing standardized tests.
Right, passing the bar exam, that kind of thing. And because of that relentless focus, the technology starts to feel detached from grounded, physical human survival.
It feels abstract.
It does. It feels abstract and disconnected from reality.
It feels like a shiny toy. But for this deep dive, we are stripping all of that noise completely away.
We really are.
We are looking at a real-world, highly stressful, high-stakes scenario where AI was not used to, like, maximize shareholder value or streamline some marketing campaign.
Yeah, no corporate buzzwords here.
Right. It was deployed for immediate, boots-on-the-ground crisis response during a truly devastating natural disaster.
And placing the technology in that specific high-stress context, I mean, it changes everything about how we evaluate its true worth.
It really reframes the whole conversation.
It does. So the source we are unpacking today is a brief but incredibly impactful post by Onyx Singal.
Which was published on Right and SOS, right?
Yes, exactly. And our mission here for this deep dive is to examine exactly how a radically simple application of AI completely bypassed massive traditional bureaucratic systems to deliver actual aid when the status quo just, failed.
Okay, let's unpack this, because to really understand the brilliance of the solution, we have to first look at the inciting incident from the source material.
The storm.
Right, the storm. So we are in Portugal. A catastrophic storm hits. And we are talking about a scale of destruction that knocks out major roads. It destroys cellular towers.
It completely wipes out power across half of the entire country.
Half the country.
Yeah, and a blackout of that magnitude isn't just an inconvenience, It represents the immediate collapse of modern infrastructure.
Everything just stops.
Exactly. Everything we subconsciously rely on to coordinate logistics, to communicate with the authorities, to simply acquire the basic necessities of life, it all just vanishes overnight.
The physical world suddenly becomes incredibly disconnected.
And isolated.
Highly isolated, yes. And when things go wrong on that massive scale, we are always told to rely on traditional emergency systems, right? Like call the official numbers.
Right. Trust the system.
But those systems completely buckled under the pressure during the critical early hours of the storm in Portugal. The immediate default for the status quo, as the source highlights, is basically just waiting for the system to catch up.
Which is, waiting while the storm is literally still raging outside your window.
Yeah, not great.
No. And the friction in traditional emergency infrastructure, it exists because centralized systems are fundamentally designed for order. They're designed for audibility.
They like things neat and tidy.
Exactly. They are, at their core, rigid databases. They are designed by administrators who want to fit a chaotic, completely unpredictable, real-world crisis into neat, predefined categories.
Which is, I always think of it like trying to navigate an automated corporate phone tree.
Oh, yeah.
You know, the ones like press 1 for billing, press 4 for technical support.
Yeah.
But you're doing that while your house is actively taking on water.
It's absurd.
It is. It is a massive mismatch of urgency and human reality. I mean, the source points out how ridiculous it is that these rigid bureaucratic forms are usually designed by someone sitting in a perfectly climate-controlled, well-lit office building somewhere.
Far away from the actual danger.
Exactly.
And the underlying flaw there is that the system demands the victim do the administrative heavy lifting.
Oh, that's a great point.
Right. The person who is currently traumatized or freezing or in literal physical danger is suddenly tasked with translating their immediate visceral need into the system's highly structured language.
Let's actually talk about the physical reality of that for a second.
Yeah.
Because in a crisis, your brain is, it's just flooded with adrenaline and cortisol.
Yeah, your biochemistry completely
And
changed.
working memory drastically shrinks because your body goes straight into fight or flight mode. Your prefrontal cortex, the part of your brain that's responsible for complex problem solving and, navigating a 5-page drop-down menu on a website, it essentially just shuts down.
It does. It places a massive cognitive burden on the people who are biologically the least equipped to bear it in that specific moment.
Exactly. It's asking the impossible.
And practically speaking, when half the country is out of power, the cellular networks that are still limping along are going to be incredibly congested.
Yeah. Good luck loading a heavy web page.
Right. Complex web apps or these heavy bureaucratic forms, they simply aren't going to load on a dying smartphone with 1 bar of 3G signal. The entire centralized safety net basically unspools.
It falls apart. And that paralyzing friction, that is the exact environment where our story takes a massive pivot.
A really inspiring pivot, honestly.
Yeah, because the traditional system was hopelessly bogged down, a small, completely unfunded team of AI and crisis response experts looked at the situation and recognized a fundamental truth.
Which was?
That the existing architecture was mathematically incapable of scaling to meet the immediate hyper-local need.
So they chose to bypass the official channels entirely.
They just went around them.
Exactly. Over a single weekend, they built their own platform, which they called Tempestade SOS.
Tempestade SOS. I love that.
And what they build really serves as a masterclass in radical simplicity. According to the source, there was no massive venture capital funding round.
No millions of dollars poured into it.
Right. There was no big corporate team behind it, no money exchanged hands whatsoever.
That is wild. And here is how the user experience actually worked. Because this is the best part. If you were affected by the storm, you didn't have to download some heavy app or click through a series of categorized menus trying to figure out if your need for, a tarp fell under structural damage or exposure mitigation.
You didn't have to guess the category.
Right. You simply typed what you needed in plain words into a basic text box. Just water, a tarp, a generator, a place to stay. Just plain text.
The focus was entirely on the absolute elimination of the middleman.
Yes. And anyone in the surrounding area who had something to give, they did the exact same thing. They just typed, I have an extra tarp, or I have a generator you can borrow.
And then the AI steps in to serve as the invisible bridge between those two plain text inputs.
Okay, let's actually pause and dig into how that bridge functions, because it is so easy to just say, the AI matched them.
Right, it sounds like magic.
It does sound like magic. How does the computer system take thousands of panicked, typo-ridden text messages and actually figure out who needs what and who has what?
Well, that is where we move away from those rigid databases we were just talking about and into the realm of natural language processing, or NLP.
Okay, NLP.
Yeah. If we were using the old database system, the computer would only look for exact character matches. So if a user types, I need to cover my leaking roof, and a local donor types, I have waterproof canvas.
The old system sees zero connection.
Exactly, zero.
Because the database is just looking at the letters. It's completely literal. It doesn't see the word roof in the donor's text, so it just assumes there is no match.
It lacks all context.
Right.
But Tempestade SOS utilized AI models capable of understanding semantic intent.
Semantic intent. So meaning?
Yes, meaning under the hood, these models use something called vector embeddings.
Vector embeddings.
Right. Now, imagine a massive, multidimensional map of all human language. Words and phrases that share similar meanings or are used in similar contexts, they are placed geographically closer together on this digital map.
So the phrase leaking roof and the phrase waterproof canvas would be neighbors on this map.
Exactly.
Even though they don't share any actual letters or root words?
Precisely. The AI acts very much like a highly empathetic, brilliant librarian.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, think about it. If you go to a traditional automated library catalog and type a typo-ridden, vague phrase, you get 0 results.
Right, it just says search not found.
But if you walk up to a human librarian and say, hey, I need that really long book about the guy chasing the whale, the librarian instantly knows you mean Moby Dick.
They just get it.
Right. The AI is doing that exact semantic translation, but at massive scale and in milliseconds.
Wow. So it parses the panic, the local slang, the typos, like maybe someone is typing WETR instead of water because their hands are physically shaking.
Exactly.
And it extracts the core human need and then maps it to the available resources.
Furthermore, it takes that semantic match and it overlays it with location data.
Oh, of course. Proximity.
Yes, it prioritizes physical proximity, ensuring the person offering the canvas is actually within walking distance of the person with the leaking roof.
That is incredibly smart. But I actually have to push back a little bit here.
Okay, go for it.
Because I look at this and my first thought is, this sounds like a logistical nightmare waiting to happen.
How so?
Well, by completely removing the bureaucratic friction and the official verification, don't you also remove all the safety rails?
I see what you mean.
Like, if there's no official vetting process, what stops bad actors from hoarding generators? Or worse, using the platform to find vulnerable people during a blackout?
Yeah, that is a crucial question, and it really highlights the fundamental trade-off of any high-trust, low-friction system.
Right.
The team behind Tempestade SOS had to make a highly calculated risk assessment based on the realities of an active crisis. In normal, everyday circumstances, you absolutely want verification.
You want safety checks.
You want safety checks, identity validation, all of that. But in a life-threatening disaster scenario, the calculus shifts dramatically.
The risk of inaction becomes far deadlier than the risk of exploitation.
Exactly. Consider the reality on the ground. If you mandate a 24-hour background check or a multi-step identity verification process before allowing someone to offer a tarp,
The house is already flooded.
the house is flooded. The family is already facing hypothermia. The builders recognize that in a hyper-localized proximity scenario, people are interacting with their actual physical neighbors.
Right. It's not some stranger across the country.
Exactly. The platform leans entirely into the inherent community trust and solidarity that reliably emerges during shared physical trauma.
It's essentially a localized neighborhood watch, but dynamically powered by semantic AI.
That's a great way to put it.
You are trading the illusion of perfect security for the reality of immediate survival.
And taking that cognitive load off the victim is paramount. I mean, forcing an AI to understand the messy, panicked, plain language of a human being, rather than forcing the human to understand the rigid, structured language of a database.
Yeah.
That is arguably the most empathetic use of technology we have seen in years.
Empathetic technology. I love that phrasing. It meets you exactly where you are rather than demanding you come to it.
Perfectly said.
It acts as a universal translator between human panic and logistical coordination, which actually brings us to the timing of all this.
Right, the timing.
Because recognizing the intent in someone's text message and matching it to a neighbor, that is really only half the battle. If you build the perfect AI model but wait 6 months to deploy it.
The storm is over and the damage is done.
Exactly. So how do they solve the timing issue?
They solved it by completely abandoning the traditional software development cycle.
You just threw it out the window.
Completely. The core insight from NX Single's post is captured in a single powerful line. He says, "What gets me isn't the tech, it's the timing."
Here's where it gets really interesting for me. The source notes that while the official channels and the big organizations were likely still having meetings about meetings,
Oh, definitely.
or, filling out a feature request form in triplicate, this small team looked at a disaster that was actively unfolding and asked, what can we ship in the next few hours that actually helps?
It is the ultimate manifestation of the ship it now philosophy, but applied to human survival rather than software sales.
Yeah.
In traditional development, whether in government infrastructure or corporate tech, perfectionism is deeply rewarded.
Oh, yeah. Everything has to be flawless.
The goal is always to launch a polished product with a beautiful user interface where every possible edge case is fully documented and accounted for.
It's like planning a perfectly balanced Michelin-star dinner menu.
Okay, I like where you're going with this.
Like you're sitting there debating the font on the menu, you're discussing the subtle wine pairings, while someone is standing right in front of you, actively starving to death.
Yes.
At that exact moment, they don't need a perfect menu. They need half a sandwich right now.
That analogy perfectly illustrates the dynamic at play here. In a crisis, perfectionism isn't just an annoyance, it is a fatal flaw.
A fatal flaw.
Because while you are polishing the interface, people are sitting in the dark. The window of maximum vulnerability is open, and it is closing rapidly.
The metric for success for the Tempestade SOS team wasn't whether they had a flawless user interface or some robust 5-year scalability plan.
No, not at all.
The metric was, did a family get a generator tonight? Did someone get a tarp over their exposed roof before the second wave of rain hit?
And by choosing immediate utility over perfect polish, they were able to achieve massive scale incredibly quickly.
Because it just worked.
It just worked. And the results validate their approach entirely. According to the source, within weeks, they had matched volunteers to over 1,000 requests.
1,000 requests. Just think about the sheer logistics of moving 1,000 pieces of critical equipment or aid across a completely blacked out region. That is staggering.
It really is. Furthermore, they onboarded thousands of people who were ready to help.
Whoa.
That level of peer-to-peer mobilization, it only happened because the tool was available immediately, right when the emotional drive to help was at its absolute peak in the community.
That is such a crucial psychological point.
Yeah.
People wanted to help.
Yes.
The citizens of Portugal who weren't hit as hard or who maybe had extra supplies sitting in their garages, they were desperate to do something useful.
Human nature in a crisis is often very generous.
But usually you don't know who needs what. You can't just drive around aimlessly in a blackout looking for someone who might, theoretically need a tarp.
Exactly. The willingness to help in a disaster is enormous, but it is routinely squandered by a lack of logistical direction. The generosity is there, but the friction of the physical world prevents it from finding its target.
So by building this in real time, well, the storm was literally still happening, they captured that immediate surge of community goodwill and they directed it with laser precision.
They built the infrastructure for human kindness over a single weekend.
That is such a beautiful way to put it. And it really forces you to reevaluate what we prioritize when we build systems. We spend so much time building walls and gates and forms to verify and validate everything. Here, they just stripped all of that away.
They used AI not to build a more complex system, but to absorb the complexity on behalf of the user.
Let the machine do the hard work.
Right. The AI handles the messy, complicated reality of human language and spatial mapping, so the user interface can remain as simple as a blank text box.
So what does this all mean for you, the listener? We started this deep dive talking about AI hype fatigue.
Which is very real.
It is very real. The feeling that all this technology is just abstract noise, generating pictures of cats or, drafting corporate emails for middle management.
But what the Tempestade SOS story proves is that the most powerful, world-changing application of AI isn't necessarily about massive trillion-parameter generative models passing the bar exam or writing complex code.
No. It's about utilizing AI as an ultra-fast, frictionless bridge.
A bridge, yes.
It's about using technology to close the gap between urgent human needs and immediate human generosity in those terrifying moments when every single second counts.
It's about empathy, speed, and plain language.
Exactly.
It challenges every organization, every government, and really every individual who build things to ask a critical question.
Which is?
Are our processes actually serving the outcome, or are they just serving the process? Are we forcing people to adapt to our rigid databases, or are we using technology to adapt our systems to messy, panicked humans?
When you strip away the feature request forms, the call centers, and the bureaucracy, you are left with just humans helping humans, facilitated by a smart, simple text box.
It's incredibly powerful.
It is. Which brings me back to that automated corporate phone tree we talked about at the beginning.
Oh, right. Press 1 for help.
Right, the one you're stuck on while the water is rising in your living room. Traditional systems are slow, they are bloated, and they are completely out of touch with physical reality.
Sadly, yes.
So I want to leave you with a final thought to ponder as you go about your day. If a small, unfunded team can completely bypass a massive, slow-moving national bureaucracy to deliver real, life-saving logistics over a single weekend using just plain language and proximity matching.
Yeah.
What other slow, bloated, incredibly frustrating systems in your own everyday life are just waiting to be completely replaced by a simple text box?